The old woman shuffled into the bright marble-floored bank with a small, worn-out purse clutched to her chest. Her clothes were faded, her shoes cracked, and her silver hair tied neatly beneath a scarf that had seen better days. People glanced at her, then looked away. A few laughed quietly, whispering as she walked past a long line of customers. To them, she looked like just another homeless woman trying to find warmth indoors. But she wasn't here for charity. She had come for something far more important. At the counter, the young teller sighed, forcing a polite smile. "Ma'am, you need an appointment," he said, barely hiding his irritation. The woman nodded, her voice calm but steady. "I believe I own this bank," she replied softly. The lobby fell silent for a moment, then laughter broke out again. Even the manager stepped forward, amused but curious. No one believed her. She didn't argue, didn't raise her voice, just stood there, watching their faces, as if she was waiting for something. Her calmness was unsettling, almost too certain. Something about her eyes, wise, tired but sharp, made the room grow uneasy. Outside, a sleek black car pulled up, and two men in suits stepped out, scanning the entrance. The laughter inside slowly faded as they walked straight toward the old woman and bowed. "Madam," one of them said respectfully, "your meeting room is ready." The entire bank froze, realizing too late that the woman they mocked wasn't homeless at all. The manager's smile vanished as the men escorted the elderly woman past the counters and straight toward the glass office upstairs. Every eye in the bank followed her, wide with disbelief. Just minutes ago, they had dismissed her as a nobody. Now they were realizing she might be the most important person in the building. The teller who had laughed the loudest felt his throat tighten. He couldn't stop thinking about her quiet words. "I believe I own this bank." Inside the private office, the old woman placed her purse gently on the table. From it, she pulled out a small envelope, its edges yellowed with time. "My husband built this bank from nothing," she said softly to the assistant who stood trembling nearby. "He believed in giving people chances no matter what they looked like." Her gaze shifted toward the glass wall, where she could still see the staff whispering below. But somewhere along the way, that kindness disappeared. Her words carried a weight that filled the room. The assistant exchanged nervous glances with the manager, who had rushed upstairs, trying to piece together who she really was. The woman's name, when finally spoken aloud, made the manager's knees weaken. It was the same as the founder's late wife. Downstairs, whispers grew louder. Who was she? Why had she come dressed like that? And what would happen now that the homeless woman had revealed she was the billionaire owner in disguise? The truth was only beginning to unfold. The atmosphere in the bank grew heavier with each passing minute. The employees tried to act busy, but everyone's attention was fixed upstairs. Some whispered that it couldn't be true, that the woman was lying or delusional. Others remembered stories about the founder's wife, a woman known for her quiet strength and generosity. Still, no one could explain why she had come dressed like that, or why she seemed so calm while everyone else panicked. In the office, the manager tried to regain control of the situation. "Madam, if I may ask, why not inform us beforehand?" he said nervously, his voice cracking slightly. The old woman looked at him for a long moment before replying. "I wanted to see how people are treated when they walk in with nothing." Her words struck deeper than any scolding could. "It's easy to smile at the rich," she continued, "but true respect is shown when you think no one's watching." Meanwhile, downstairs, the teller sat motionless, replaying everything in his mind. He remembered how he had ignored her, how the guards had snickered. Guilt weighed heavy on him. Another employee whispered that the woman had secretly visited other branches too, testing her own company to see how her late husband's legacy was being carried forward. As the truth began to surface, tension rippled through the entire staff. None of them knew what would happen next. But one thing was clear: this visit wasn't just about money. It was about integrity, humanity, and the kind of wealth that can't be measured in numbers. The air in the bank felt electric now. Every whisper carried weight. Every movement seemed louder than it should be. The old woman sat silently at the head of the conference table, her wrinkled hands resting over a faded document. The bank manager stood nearby, beads of sweat forming on his forehead, while the other executives had been quietly summoned to the room. None of them dared to speak first. When she finally did, her voice was calm but sharp. "I remember when this bank opened its doors," she said. "My husband promised it would never turn away anyone because of how they looked or where they came from. Yet today, I walked in and was treated like I didn't belong." Her gaze swept the room, landing on each person one by one. "Tell me," she continued, "how many others have been turned away just like me?" Downstairs, customers and employees stood frozen near the lobby, trying to catch bits of the conversation through the glass. The teller from earlier stood by the entrance, wishing he could disappear. Every word she spoke carried the weight of truth and disappointment. She flipped it open gently, revealing page after page of handwritten notes, signatures, and personal accounts of people he had once helped. Then, tucked between the pages, she revealed something else: a sealed letter addressed to the board of directors, dated the year before he passed away. "He left this," she said softly, "with instructions that it be read only when the bank lost its heart." The room went still. The manager tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "Madam, we didn't know such a letter existed." The old woman looked straight at him. "You never cared to look." Her words hung in the air like thunder before a storm. Downstairs, the news began to spread. Employees gathered near the lobby, listening as rumors rippled through the crowd. Some said she was about to expose corruption. Others whispered that the letter might name a new owner. Tension mounted as she broke the seal, her fingers shaking slightly. The moment the paper unfolded, the entire bank seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the truth that could destroy or redeem them all. As the letter unfolded, the room fell silent. The woman's hands trembled slightly as she began to read in a steady voice, each word echoing through the tense air. To those who come after me, the letter began, remember that this bank was built not on money, but on trust. The day it forgets compassion is the day it no longer belongs to me. Every person in the room felt the weight of those words. Some lowered their eyes, ashamed. Others stood frozen, afraid of what would come next. Then she paused, her voice softening. My husband wrote that if the values of this institution were ever lost, ownership would pass to the one person who reminded it of its true purpose. She slowly turned the page on there. In her late husband's handwriting was a name no one expected. Her own? Gasps rippled through the room. The teller outside pressed closer to the glass, his heart racing. The old woman looked around the table. I didn't come to punish, she said. I came to remind you that success means nothing without kindness. Her tone was calm but powerful. The manager's eyes filled with regret, realizing how blind ambition had led them astray. Just as everyone thought the moment was over, she revealed one last twist, a list of names inside the notebook. These, she said, are the people you turned away. Tomorrow, they will walk back in, and this time, you will welcome them. The room filled with quiet awe. The true power of compassion finally restored. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the tall glass windows of the bank. For the first time in years, the staff greeted customers with genuine smiles instead of forced politeness. The teller who had mocked the old woman stood at the entrance, welcoming people in, determined to make things right. The change was quiet but powerful. Every gesture carried a new sense of respect. The elderly woman sat in the same chair she had the day before, but now everyone addressed her as Madame Evelyn. Her husband's vision had finally returned to life through her courage. The people whose names were on that list began arriving one by one: small business owners, struggling families, young dreamers. Each was met with open doors and helping hands. The entire bank seemed to breathe differently, as if it had found its soul again. Reporters gathered outside, trying to capture the story of the homeless woman billionaire, but Evelyn only smiled softly and said, "It's not about money, it's about people." Her words spread far beyond the building, reminding others that dignity and kindness still had value in a world obsessed with status. As she stepped into her car to leave, she looked back at the bank her husband had built and whispered, he'd be proud. The doors closed behind her, but her lesson remained: true wealth isn't in what we own, but in how we treat others. And for everyone who had witnessed that day, nothing would ever be the same again.